Hi, everybody. It's Dan Cirucci. It's Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, and here I am with Christine Flowers, one of my favorite guests. And I know many of you enjoy seeing us together. So here we are. And Christine, I just want to check to make sure that we are live on Facebook. I always do this. I'm a little neurotic about it. There we are on Facebook. And I'm going to check to make sure that we are live on Twitter, also known as X, and there we are on both platforms. So, Christine, I feel that one topic tonight, given your deep and abiding faith and the battles that you have fought, especially for the unborn, is top on the list. And that has to be the remarks of Harrison Butkus, the Kansas City uh, football kicker for the Kansas City football team, the Super Bowl champs, who spoke at Benedictine College, I believe it's in Missouri, which is a unapologetic traditional Catholic college, and he spoke at the commencement there. Now, I read the entirety of his remarks. He spoke Catholic teachings, as I said, to an unapologetically traditionalist Catholic college, to their students and their faculty and their administration. He was interrupted several times by applause. One part of his speech got 18 seconds of applause, sustained applause. And now everybody is describing it as controversial. What the hell is controversial about this, Christine?
Danny, well, that's I saw a Channel 6, banner column saying his controversial remarks. And I said, okay, he's Catholic, speaking at a Catholic college. He's got a pro-life message,
Right,
unapologetically pro-life message.
right.
I said, please explain for those of us in remedial learning classes like me, what is controversial about this? The context, first of all, and you laid it out perfectly. He was speaking at a traditional Catholic college, something that Notre Dame used to be, but no longer is. Notre Dame is much more of a progressive, she, woke, make everyone feel nice about themselves university. Sadly, very tragically, the great Catholic Harvard of the United States is no longer Catholic.
No.
Because I believe because it's Jesuit. But the whole idea of Harrison Butker speaking was to have someone who embodied the values and the principles that are expressed at Benedictine College speak to these students who are soon to be, released into a very secular world. So, first of all, they weren't controversial comments to his audience, to his intended audience. Now, of course, the speech was made public. It was uploaded. I'm very certain that it was made public for hostile reasons, nefarious reasons. I'm sure that there were many people who did that because they wanted to mock him. They wanted to attack him. And what I actually posted something on Instagram. I said that there are a lot of people who don't like to be faced with their own bigotry, their obvious bigotry. We see it with anti-Semites who say, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm anti-Israel's policies. I'm anti-Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm pro-Palestinian children. Okay? Similarly, people who are legitimately accused of being anti-Catholic will step back and they will say, I'm not anti-Catholic. I'm pro-woman. I'm anti-priest sexual abuse. I'm pro-woman. But they're bigots. And this is exactly what we have seen. Unfortunate for Harrison, Happily, though, I think for many of us who are contented and who believe that truly that anti-Catholicism has disappeared from the landscape, we have been given an opportunity to see just how virulent a strain of anti-Catholicism still remains in American society. And it's unfortunate for him, but I think, as I said, for us, it's instructive that we understand that there is this shadow bigotry out there, and unfortunately, some of the worst propagators of this shadow bigotry are Catholics themselves, Catholics in the
Oh,
mold of Joe Biden, Catholics in the
absolutely,
mold of Nancy
absolutely.
Pelosi,
He
pro-choice
said
Catholics.
this. He said this in his remarks. He references this, and he also takes on uh, Catholic priests and bishops who who
Father
have
James
who have
Martin.
embraced what I call Catholic light, okay, and who refuse to speak out and who refuse to express the genuine teachings of the church, something which, as we all know, Mother Angelica so eloquently did when she was on TV every night.
Can
And
I
for
say
those of us
something?
who remember Mother Angelica, and boy, she was right there, you know, with the magisterium. We call the magisterium, which is the bedrock teachings of the church. And this young man, uh, he mentioned the priests, the bishops, and there were quite a few, uh, uh, let's say, well-known Catholics that spoke out today in his defense. But I didn't see anything come, like for example, from the Catholic Bishops of America, the American Council of Catholic Bishops, or whatever you call them. You know what I mean? From the hierarchy itself.
Right.
Um,
What angers me, and this is what I was trying, I'm a woman, and a lot of these critics of Butker are out there saying that they support women, that they're pro women. That's why they're angry at his comments about motherhood, about raising your children in the home, about being pro life, and this and that. And to me, it is a facade, or it's subterfuge. They don't truly care about women. They are using us as a way to advance their very secular agenda that has nothing whatsoever to do with the dignity, honor, spirituality of women. You mentioned Mother Angelica, incredibly powerful female figure of the church. I went to see the film Cabrini, about Mother Cabrini, the first American saint who also happened to be an Italian citizen, a naturalized American, one of the strongest female figures and embraced by the Catholic Church. I went to my 45th reunion, high school reunion at Marian Mercy Academy 2 weeks ago. I met up again with two of the most important role models in my life, two Catholic nuns who were young women when they taught me and are just slightly older than I am right now, and still in the religious life, strong, religious, faithful women. I don't have children. I'm not a mother. But to me, Danny, the most honorable thing that a woman can do, if she chooses to do this, is to stay home with the children that she brings into this world until they're school age, because that is the greatest gift that we have, the power to give life. And and the people who are attacking this young man are basically saying that that is not an important that is not the primary and central role of women. They're basically saying, it's demeaning to us. It's like keeping us barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. And they're completely missing and misunderstanding, or deliberately ignoring the message of the Catholic Church, which is Mary, the mother of Jesus Christ, was the central figure in the church, simply primarily because she was that vehicle through which Christ came into the world. How much more powerful a role can women play than that?
she
So,
Yeah, I mean, she is the avenue to God Himself. She is the um, mediatrix, as Mother Angelica described her, to God. And
Right.
we certainly, those of us who were educated in the Catholic faith, know that the way to Jesus is through Mary.
Right.
Okay. I
we
mean,
can't graft we can't graft a secular view of womanhood onto what the Catholic view of women and the importance of women in this world is. And that's the problem here. There are a lot of people out there who are trying to take this very traditional Catholic message that was given in a Catholic environment to Catholic students by a Catholic Super Bowl winner, let's get that in there too. And now I'm a Chiefs fan, by the way, or I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm rooting for Harrison because I don't like what the NFL is doing to him right now. But they're taking that and they're twisting it and saying, well, this is anti-woman because it's anti the secular view of women power and feminism and Gloria Steinem and all of that.
well,
It's
speaking of the
despicable.
Chiefs, yeah, speaking of the Chiefs, Travis Kelsey chugged a beer and slammed it down at a college graduation ceremony, and the NFL celebrated him. Said this was wonderful. I mean, he did it. I don't know whether he was the speaker. It appears I have a picture of it. It appears as if he was a speaker, and like before or after he spoke, he chugged the beer and slammed it down on the platform. And the president of the university and everybody applauded and laughed. Okay. And the NFL celebrated him. Harrison Butker talks about Christian values, getting married and raising kids at a graduation ceremony. And the NFL sends out a memo bashing him.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, what the hell is wrong with this picture?
Race
What's
absolute.
wrong with this picture? And then of course, Kelsey's girlfriend, Taylor Swift, she bashes Butkus too.
Well, you know what? I my column is coming out tomorrow. My Sunday column comes out on Fridays online, and I'm going to post it. And I said that I honestly think the NFL are cowards. It's no longer the days of Chuck Bednarik and the great Vince Lombardi, who was a man of incredible deep Catholic faith.
Yes.
But it's no longer that NFL. It's now the NFL that wants to curry favor with the little Swifties out there. They're so thrilled that all of these little prepubescent girls are bouncing around, and now they know what football is because, oh my God, our goddess Taylor is dating a football player. And so they were so happy that they spread out and they opened up, I guess, their appeal to these little bracelet wearing non-entities. And they're afraid to lose them because Taylor's obviously pro-abortion and she's very progressive, and so they don't want to anger her little swarm of supporters and followers. So I think that's one of the reasons that they also came out with this. They want to make sure that they keep their that new fan base that they have, but they're alienating a lot of other people. They're alienating people like me who've had season tickets since 1973. I think they have to tread very carefully here because the NFL fan base isn't a Swiftie woke fan base. It really isn't. The guys out there who booed Santa Claus and threw car batteries at him, I'm not saying that's great, but it was done, in the 700
Mhm.
section at the vet in Philly. They're not going to be receptive to this wokeism and these attacks on a really good man, a really decent man.
Well, the former Notre Dame football coach and Hall of Famer Lou Holtz publicly thanked Butler on Twitter
Love him. Love him.
today.
Love
He
Lou.
said, "Thank you to Butker for standing strong in your faith and values. Your commencement speech at Benedictine College showed courage and conviction, and I admire that," Holtz said.
Yeah.
"Don't give in," he added. And then Holtz posted on X a link to a petition in support of Butker, calling him a true man of God. Now, look, my feeling is I don't care whether you agree or disagree with what Harrison Butker said. he has the right to say it. And when someone gets up to speak at a college commencement, the university or college has specifically invited that person. They, 99 times out of 100, they know that person's views. Okay. I'm sure these people are enormously well vetted at this point. The university wants them there. They have the right to say whatever they want. And certainly somebody expressing, as we said, traditional Catholic views to a Catholic students graduated at a Catholic university. I don't understand I don't know what's controversial about it. All the Catholic bishops should speak out in support of him. Every major Catholic organization, the Knights of Columbus, however many there are, should speak out in support of him. Now, Donahue of the Catholic League, he issued a statement, the Catholic League. His courage and his commitment to Catholicism is laudatory, the Catholic League said. A heralded Catholic football player defends traditional moral values at a Catholic college. My, how novel. And with it, no time, he's being bashed all over the place. Had he endorsed transgenderism or Hamas, he would now be praised to high heaven. This is from Bill Donahue, the president of the Catholic League. Also, Bishop Joseph Strickland spoke out in favor of him, the American more conservative bishop, right? Joseph Strickland. And also his bishop, the bishop of that diocese there, his local ordinary, Bishop James Johnston of the Diocese of Kansas City, said Harrison Butker's passion for his Catholic faith and his family are beautiful and well known. And like most people, he also has strong opinions on where we are as a church and nation. The Catholic Church believes that God calls everyone to pursue holiness no matter what path they take. That's his local bishop. So some people did come forward, but I'm upset that the National Catholic Conference, Catholic bishops, whatever you want to call it, somebody like Archbishop Cardinal Dolan of New York should have spoken out.
I'm very disappointed in Cardinal Dolan. We don't need to go into
maybe he did, but I haven't heard anything.
No, I mean in general. Cardinal Dolan has become the Anthony Kennedy. Remember Anthony Kennedy on the Supreme Court? Cardinal Dolan is a little bit too much of a schmoozer with let's not go into detail about Cardinal Dolan. I'm not
the big time media.
I want to give a shout out to our friend Chris DeGaulle. Chris DeGaulle is not Catholic. Chris DeGaulle is a Christian. And Chris DeGaulle just posted a photo on Instagram and on Twitter with Harrison Butker. I don't know if it was around the time of the Super Bowl win or shortly thereafter or what have you, but it was with his beautiful wife, Christine. And he is strong in his faith and his Christian faith, but he came out and supported this young man. And I want to point that out too, because where are our allies? Where are the non-Catholics? You just made, you were lamenting the fact that there weren't Catholics who were speaking out, the institutional Catholics. Where are our non-Catholic allies? We come and speak out in defense of others who have been attacked unfairly. Mm-hmm. Where are they now? Hopefully they are out there. I have not heard it. I have not seen it. I have that's why I'm calling out Chris DeGaulle, because I am so grateful for that voice, for him. And I would love it if Do you know of any other
No,
non-Catholics?
I think that somebody like Franklin Graham should speak out. I think
Yeah,
Franklin Graham should speak out because this is a question of religious freedom. This
thank
is
you.
a bedrock question of religious freedom. Indeed, our American Jewish friends should speak out.
Yeah,
Right?
yes, thank
They
you.
should speak out as well because evangelical Christians have been the greatest friends of Israel. Okay, so they should speak out as well. The evangelical Christians should certainly speak out. Uh,
I'm angry. I'm really angry at
yeah,
this fault line that I see, that anti-Catholicism is truly the last acceptable bigotry. And it's happening over and over again, Dan. This is just one other example of it. It happened before. My column tomorrow, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. My column tomorrow is about a 5-year sentence in federal court for a woman, a pro-life activist, who was indicted under the FACE Act, Freedom of Access to Clinics Act, which is a law passed and signed in 1994 by Bill Clinton, signed by Bill Clinton and passed by, Congress, which focused directly on pro-life activists. It is a law that was almost designed to attack the pro-life movement and to squash and quash the pro-life movement. And it sat on a shelf for years. And there were very few prosecutions. Bam! Catholic Joe Biden and his Justice Department, his Attorney General, they come into office. They prosecute Mark Hoke, a pro-life father of 7, bring him into federal court where he is acquitted of charges. And unfortunately, Lauren Handy and other pro-life activists did not get the benefit of being in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. They were in, I believe, in DC. They were convicted under the FACE Act. And just yesterday or 2 days ago, Lauren Handy, a progressive, a left-wing progressive Catholic, was convicted and sentenced to almost 5 years in a federal prison. So I'm sorry.
yeah.
There is rank anti-Catholicism, anti-pro-life Christians abroad, and our president is fomenting not just hostility, but violence against us. And I am tired of it. And remember that in November, people.
Well, Harrison
Now I'll
Butkus,
calm down. Now I'll calm down.
right at the top of Harrison Butkus' remarks, he mentioned, he basically said, how dare the president of the United States call himself a Catholic and say the rosary at a pro-abortion rally.
He's a heretic, Dan. He's not a Catholic. I am just disgusted with Catholics who keep saying to me, he's a Catholic. He just believes in separation of church and state. He dragged his rosaries to a pro-abortion clinic. God, I mean, wake up, people.
One other
He's
thing
a bigot.
One other thing before we get off the subject, because we're going to have to get off this. I don't want
I'm
you
going
to
have an aneurysm. Let's get off the topic.
Okay. Let's talk about the debate that's upcoming, which we think it's upcoming. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. But this credit, President Trump said, I will debate you anytime, anywhere, any place. So somehow, all of a sudden, and I'm sure it wasn't all of a sudden, I'm sure it was very carefully planned and concocted, Biden comes up with this video where he says he's ready to debate. Let's go. We don't have to go through the Commission on Presidential Debates. Again, to his credit, Trump comes back, and this was the proposal for debates, I think in June and September, 2 debates. Trump comes back within a matter of minutes and says, fine, I'm ready. And accepts the terms, in the terms of which the first debate at CNN with, I'm trying to remember who the moderators are, and the second one at ABC.
CNN is going to be Jake Tapper, and ABC is going to be Stephanopoulos.
Oh my God. So Trump says, and they asked Trump about this. They said, are you worried about the moderators, this and that? He said, I don't care. Trump said, I don't care. So I'm asking you, Christine, do you think the debates are actually going to happen? Is this a trap being set for Trump? What's going to happen here?
Well, first of all, can I just say, you did see that video with Biden announcing his challenge for the debate? Dan, I mean, I said this on Twitter. I said, the man looks like he just came from a day at Madame Tussauds waxwork spa. He looked like an embalmed creature. He does not look like a living human being. He's an animatronic AI. I don't really think he's alive. I think that it's like weekend at
Bernie's.
At Joey's. Anyway, I think Trump has to be very careful. He has to thread the needle very carefully. But he's a showman and he's very savvy. And you saw the way that he was able to navigate the debates back in 2020. Biden says he won those debates. There is no way, at least from a stylistic perspective, that he won those debates. Donald Trump won those debates.
The mistake, I'll tell you right now, the mistake that Biden made in 2020 was he talked too much. And excuse me, the mistake that Trump made was he talked too much and he talked over Biden. If he had simply shut up and let Biden continue to talk, Biden would have stumbled, mumbled, grumbled, and it would have become apparent to people that Biden was incapable of debating. But Trump effectively saved him by talking so much. Go ahead, Christine.
You're absolutely right. Dead on right. I think, first of all, neither of those networks are Trump friendly. I was listening to Megyn Kelly's podcast this morning, and she was very, she was correct in saying that he is not going to have one person either in the audience or asking questions that will vote for him, Trump. It's a very hostile environment, but that may play to his advantage because he does really well in hostile environments. He wiped the floor with Caitlin Collins at that town hall when Caitlin, who is really a very mediocre journalist, was she wasn't able to follow up with questions when she would ask him a question and he would basically talk about talking over someone. He was able to eviscerate her. So I have to say, I'm not a huge admirer of Jake Tapper at all. I think Jake Tapper is an apologist for the Never Trump crowd. He pretends to be a little bit more balanced and moderate because, he'll throw a criticism every now and then at the left. But he is, by and large, a company man for CNN. And so I think that Trump will be able to deal with him pretty efficaciously. I have not seen Jake Tapper. In fact, Jake Tapper did he was crushed by oh golly, cannot remember his name. The governor of North Dakota, Doug Burnham. Doug Burnham. Yeah. He was interviewed a couple of weeks ago on the Sunday show, and he crushed Tapper. And people were saying, "Oh no, Tapper was great," and he was all over the place. No. Watch that interview if you can find it on YouTube. Burnham was really, really good. So in terms of the environment, I think that Trump is going into the lion's den, but I think that that's where he shines. I think that he's going to be able to, first of all, he's much more vital a character than Biden. Biden is, He needs his prompters. He needs to be in a controlled environment. And I'm sure CNN is going to try and help him with that. Trump is much more off the cuff, much more of a showman who's able to, I think, do a lot of extemporaneous. And the only thing, and I said this to my friend Mary Walter, at the point when the debate will take place, that first Tapper debate, the CNN debate will take place, we may very well have a verdict in the New York trial, that ridiculous, I call it it's like the Scopes monkey trial without, an actual controversy there. It's a monkey trial. And I think, though, that we may very well have a verdict. We're either going to have a hung jury or we're going to have a conviction. And Biden is going to try and be able to say, well, here we have, I'm standing in front of a convicted felon, even though there's going to be an immediate appeal. It's going to go up on appeal. There's not going to be a decision. And you are not convicted of anything if your case is on appeal. Every lawyer knows that there's no final verdict while a case is on appeal. So he will not be a convicted felon. He will be someone who was found guilty, very likely, in a very skewed, very biased courtroom by presided over by a very biased judge.
You think he's going to be found guilty? You don't think there is a possibility of a hung jury, or no?
I think there's a possibility at the very best. There will not be an acquittal. I will stake my life on that. There will not be an acquittal. There will possibly be a hung jury and a mistrial, depending on if they can get one of the jurors, one of the lawyers perhaps on the jury, to basically say those witnesses were so compromised, Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels, who have been, they're on record as saying they want the man convicted. So there's no legitimacy to what they're saying. I look at it as an attorney, and I look at it as someone who is not a never Trumper at all. And I think that Trump's lawyers are doing a very good job with their cross examination. I want to wait and see what they do with their defense. I'm not sure if they're going to start their defense tomorrow or Monday, because I'm pretty sure that the prosecution has now rested. They're done with Michael Cohen and they have no more witnesses. But back to the debate, I think that Biden is going to try and use this either way by saying he's either a convicted felon or, look, he wasn't acquitted of this crime, so he's not guilty. And Biden's not a very smart man, so he's not very he's not very well versed in the law. And I think the last time he practiced law was 112 years ago. So I don't think that. And I got to say, listen, I'm 62. I'm in no position to start casting aspersions at people because of their age. I love wisdom. I love people who are of a certain age. Two of my favorite people in the world, two of my old law professors are slightly older than I am, and they are sharp as tacks, and they are my idols and mentors. One of them is Howard Laurie, who I know frequent contributor to Broad and Liberty, just a brilliant man. And Jack Dobbin, another one of my law professors, brilliant man. You, Dan Cirucci, who I adore. You're just a little bit older than me, not much, but a little bit. So I'm not casting aspersions against older people. I'm casting aspersions against a doddering old fool in the Oval Office right now. A man who just happens to be old, but who was really kind of stupid when he was young. And I think that, I don't think that Biden is really smart enough to know what's going on with the trial. He's just using it for PR effect. That's my only, my only reservation about this particular debate, the first one.
I think that one problem that Trump has with these debates is he's overconfident.
You think?
Overconfident, and I'm not sure that he's a good student. Now, he's had people that really know about this stuff come in and coach him. We know that our own Rich Zeoli from Philly was one of his coaches in 2016, I believe it was.
And don't forget, Richie's a Jersey boy like you.
Yes, yes, he's a Jersey boy. That's right. He's a Jersey native. He still lives in New Jersey. Um, but I'm not sure how well Trump actually listens and takes this advice because he is so full of bravado and so confident. Now, it is important to be confident when you go into a debate like that, but you've got to remember some of the key points that your coaches have given you. You need a nice balance. You need a nice balance of confidence and, cautiousness. And like I say, in the first debate in particular with Biden, and it's always the first debate that determines it. It's very hard to come back after you've lost the first debate. Reagan was able to do it, but very few other people have been able to do it. You lose that first debate, especially if there's only two, you're out.
Yeah.
So,
And the moderator is extremely important because we saw what happened with Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney was absolutely right about Russia when he was debating Obama. And Candy, what's her name? Candace
Mindy
Crowley.
Crowley, I'll
She
never
was
forget that moment. She basically cut him off, and she fed lines to Obama,
Obama,
and
yeah.
she basically said Obama was correct. Obama was right. Candy Crowley.
But
Yeah,
Trump is a very different character than oh my God, I just mentioned him. Who was he? The guy
Romney.
Romney. Thank you.
Well,
Romney.
he was entirely too civil. He was
Well,
entirely
he
too
played by the Marquis of Queensberry rules, and that's what you don't do. Trump is a fighter. Trump is a street fighter, like my dad was, and those are the people that get ahead. I think maybe they should get the guy who the team that prepped Sarah Palin when she debated Joe Biden in the VP race, in the VP debate back in 2008, because she wiped the floor with Biden, if not in substance, in her presentation. She was
right,
fantastic. She was able to
right,
pivot. She was great. So they need to get,
right,
and it just shows you Joe Biden is easily bested and bettered by other people because he's not smart. He's not effective in anything. He is beholden to his handlers. People say, well, Donald Trump doesn't listen to the people who are around him. Okay, maybe a little bit. He's a renegade. He goes rogue every now and then. But Biden is too much in the other direction. He's too much a creature of the people who have fingerprints all over him. He's just not an original thinker by any stretch of the imagination. So I really do think this is Trump's to lose.
Well, Trump was superb in 2016 in the debates against Hillary. And who can ever forget that when Hillary said, if you were the president, and Trump very quickly jumped in there and she said, if you were the president, and he said, you'd be in jail. And I mean, it was like a stunning moment. I don't even know where that came from. A stunning, spontaneous moment in the debate. But you have to remember when people saw Trump in the debates in 2016, he was so new upon the scene. It was so shocking. It was so unexpected. Nobody even expected Trump to be there. That all he had to do was be reasonably effective in the debates. And it was like, wow, where the hell did this guy come from? And he was more than reasonably effective. He knocked it out of the park. And Hillary was the traditional, politician, the traditional politico. She had never encountered anything like this before. In fact, the moderators of the debate had never encountered anything like this before. So he threw them all off balance. And
My
that's
favorite part
partly
is
how
when he
he
came
won.
down. My favorite part is when he came down from the post because he's an impressive, physically impressive figure. And when he would come down from the podium and he would like go next to her and he'd
Right.
invade the personal space, and you could see her looking like, what is happening over here? Leave me alone. It's like when you're on an
Right.
elevator and someone gets too close to you, and she looked panicky. She looked like she was not in
Yes.
control of the situation.
And speaking about invading space, I remember when Al Gore tried to do that to W. Bush, and W. Bush just gave him one look that's, don't you take one more step in this direction. It was that sort of Texas look, like,
Right. And we don't think of
you better not go any further.
George Bush. We don't think of George Bush, the son, as being, particularly combative or sort of like imposing. We just don't. In retrospect, I don't think of him in that way. When he was standing in the rubble of 9/11 and he said, and the whole world will hear us now. That was an incredibly moving moment. But there weren't that many of those moments during Bush's administration. But you're absolutely right.
The megaphone moment, the famous megaphone moment.
Right. But you're absolutely
Grabbed
right.
the megaphone from the fireman that was standing there and used it to speak from that, because people were saying, we can't hear you.
Right.
He didn't have a microphone, and spontaneously grabbed a megaphone.
Yeah.
It was one of those magical moments. And that's what the greatest leaders have to have. You've got to be on your toes, and you've got to be able to seize the moment. It's like when Ronald Reagan, in the famous moment in New Hampshire, the debate, where they tried to shut his microphone off, and he grabbed it and he said, just a minute, Mr. Breen. The moderator was a guy named Breen. He said, I paid for this microphone. I mean, it was
I remember that.
there
were so many Reagan moments like that. There were so many Reagan moments like that, though, when he said, I won't, what is it? I won't hold you responsible for your youth. Remember, they were trying to
your youth and inexperience. I will not hold my opponent responsible for his youth and inexperience, or something to that effect. Yeah, I won't hold it against him. I won't hold it.
Not on the campaign trail. The greatest moment of the last 50, maybe 100 years, him standing in front of the Berlin Wall and saying, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Right. And in the debates against Jimmy Carter, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
Yeah.
People still try to use that.
He was brilliant.
Trump is trying to use that right now. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I think if anybody asks themselves now, are you better off now? And this, of course, means primarily economically. That's what it means in America. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? No.
I'm not. I have less goods. And the older I get, I'm inching toward retirement, Dan.
Right.
I am scared to death because of what Joe Biden has done to this economy and his policies. And I am absolutely appalled at people who are lying about the state of the economy. There's a difference between job creation and your ability to pay your mortgage, your ability to put food on the table, your ability to send, I don't even have any paradigm for it.
Well, to send kids to college, or to send them
forget about college.
Post high school education or whatever. Send them to a trade school. Listen, right now, a lot more kids are going to trade school. They're going to do a lot better with a trade than if they went and studied, basket weaving, whatever the hell they study at college anymore. We've got these cockamamie disciplines and studies that people have made up.
The etymology of pronouns. What is your pronoun? Where does your pronoun come from? Is your pronoun pre-Columbian? Is your pronoun
Christine, when I went to Villanova University, we had to take 4 years of theology. 4 years. I mean, when we were finished, we were practically ready for the seminary. Okay, and I was like, it didn't matter. It didn't matter what you were in the school of college of finance, you were in liberal arts. It didn't matter what school you were in of the university. You had theology every single semester.
Them. And if you're not going to go, if you don't want this stuff, don't go to a Catholic university. I went to Villanova Law School. We had crucifixes when I was there. I don't know if they still have them. We had crucifixes on on the walls of the rooms that we were studying in. No one complained. I had two of my best friends from college are Jewish men who I adore. Not one of them, neither of them complained about crucifixes because they went to Villanova. They knew what was, if I went to Yeshiva University, I wouldn't be upset that they didn't have classes on Saturday or whatever. I mean,
I know, yes, I know quite a few very, very successful Jewish lawyers that went to Villanova, and they're proud of it.
Yes,
it's a fantastic law school.
It is.
Fantastic law school.
It's great. It went a little bit woke, a little teensy bit woke, but it's okay. Not so much the law school, the undergraduates. I think the law school is still holding the line, but I'm keeping a very close eye on it.
Well, you have to keep a close eye on any of these Catholic colleges that call themselves Catholic. And, I was going to mention, I have to mention, because we're going to wrap it up here because we're almost 15 minutes into this already.
Wow.
But the Pope Francis gave an interview on April the 24th to CBS. This interview is going to air this Sunday, apparently, on 60 Minutes.
Oh, great.
And he lambasted American Catholic conservatives.
I'm shocked.
Pope Francis said this. This is unbelievable. He said a conservative is someone who, quote, clings to something and does not want to see beyond it. It is suicidal, he said. And I'm quoting him again. He said, because one thing is to take tradition into account, to consider such situations from the past, but it is quite another to be closed up inside a dogmatic box. Now, wait a minute, Christine. Isn't there something that we call the dogma of the church?
Yeah. I'm speechless. I'm speechless.
So in other words, those people that are faithful to the teachings of the church are now closed inside of a dogmatic box. But wait a minute. Isn't that sort of what faith is?
Yeah. I love the phrase, to those who believe, an explanation of faith is not necessary. To those who do not believe, an explanation of faith will never be enough. And I think that's exactly right. That faith is not something that changes with the winds. It's not something that Taylor Swift can write about and write a nice little ditty song about, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it's like the poetry of Taylor Swift. She's really channeling our situation today and our angst as women and as all of that. That's not what the church is. It's called the Rock of Peter. It's not called the the beanbag of Peter. When you move it around, you squish it, you can change it.
It's not called the suggestions of Peter. They're not the suggestions of Peter.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
and Moses didn't come down from Mount Sinai with the 10 options. You know?
Christine, I just looked up the dictionary definition of the Oxford English Dictionary. What it says: a principle or set of principles laid down by an authority as incontrovertibly true.
There you go.
That's called the teachings of the church. Is a dogma.
Yeah, exactly. The
But we
Baltimore
shouldn't be.
Catechism. I mean, I'm from Baltimore. I was born in Baltimore. It's, you know, I got to give a shout out
The
to
Baltimore
Baltimore.
Catechism.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry.
But
I
we
am going to
shouldn't
watch.
follow
I'm going to
that.
watch this Pope interview. I want to heckle him. I want to. Going to throw my rosaries at the screen. Take this, Frank, and this. I'm going to be
Because if
excommunicated.
we follow
I know it. I'm going to be excommunicated.
so I mean, I read it and I said, well, wait a minute, a dogmatic box. Well, like if you've well learned the teachings of the church, then you follow your life within those dogmatic confines.
Exactly.
Okay, and this is why, by the way, to take this full circle and get back to Harrison Butker, what he called straying from the teachings of the church, he called it disorder. And he was calling for reorder.
That's right. And you've heard the phrase a disordered state. Your soul is in a disordered state. That I mean, that's actually very consistent with Catholic teaching.
Right.
You need to be in tune, in compliance, in whatever the word I'm looking for, with the teachings of the church. Otherwise, you are disordered. You are out of order. And my final thought on this is, if you're a Catholic and you're having problems with the teachings of the church, leave. Don't change it. The church is not going to bend to accommodate Mitzi and you know and Frank. It is eternal. And if you don't like it, we're not keeping you in it. Leave. Because heresy, such as the heresy represented by our current president, is not acceptable in the church.
Well, now we do have a lot. You do have a lot of other choices. We have freedom of religion here in America. You have a lot of other choices. Even if you still want to be Christian, you still want to follow the words of Christ. You have quite a few other religions. There's a Presbyterian, Baptist, Methodist, Episcopalian, Lutheran. You have a lot of choices. Okay, you could become a Jehovah's Witness. You could become a Mormon. I mean,
I have more respect for people who have a problem with the church and leave. I have friends who have left the Catholic Church. They're still respectful of the church, and their respect was shown by the fact that they walked away, because they weren't going to try to change the church, and they couldn't change themselves, so they left. I have much more respect for them than for frauds like pro-abortion Nancy Pelosi and pro-abortion Joe Biden and pro-abortion Kennedys down the line. Okay,
right.
Those people,
Yeah.
not JFK. JFK, I believe, would have been a consistent devout Catholic, even with his peccadillos. But Teddy and and the next generation, no way. So you don't like the church, you don't like its teachings. Bye-bye. As oh God, what was his name? The McLaughlin report. Remember Robert McLaughlin?
Bye-bye.
Him.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
The McLaughlin report. That's the way he used to end the program. Bye-bye.
The former Jesuit. He was a former Jesuit priest.
He was.
I love him. Yes.
We do miss him. We do miss the McLaughlin report.
I do.
Compared to some of the junk that passes for commentary today, that was erudite.
You go on YouTube, you can get some of the old shows. It's great. I was watching it the other night,
Oh
and
my
you
God.
know, that's gold.
The
What they
McLaughlin report and firing line,
Oh yeah. Oh my God. And
with William F.
was
Buckley.
it and was it not Crossfire? Was it Firing Line? What was Buckley's? What was Buckley's?
Firing line was
The Firing
Buckley.
Line. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, was Buckley.
Those
Yeah.
were smart people. There, even the debates. There's a great documentary called Best of Enemies, and it's about when you were
Yeah.
in Chicago at that convention. It was about the debates between Gore Vidal and William F. Buckley, and they were so smart, Dan, so smart. I mean, obviously, I sided with Buckley, but Vidal, for all of his
These
bizarreness, was a
these
brilliant
people.
man. We don't
Right.
have those people, those
No,
pundits any longer. We
no,
don't.
no. These people were actually, they were true intellectuals, not what passes for intellectual today.
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
they when they came out with a book, okay, and both Gore Vidal and William F. Buckley wrote many books. They actually wrote those books. Okay, those books were not written by some, per, ghostwriter
Right.
or somebody that, these books that people are coming out with now that you see on television, and they say, oh, I wrote a book. They didn't actually write those books. There's a
No.
well-known radio and national radio commentator who also happens to be on a TV network. Um, I'm not going to mention his name because he
I
loves
know
to get
who you're talking about.
publicity. I'm not going to mention his name, Christine. He loves to get publicity. He has written several books, written books. Okay. I'll leave it at that. But Mr. William F. Buckley and Gore Vidal and people like that of that era, okay, people like the late Eric Severide, who used to come on CBS News, that had that sort of gravitas, they actually wrote those books. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They were truly intelligent individuals. And I didn't have to agree with their politics. In fact, I would
No.
much rather have a smart liberal in front of me than a conservative who is either a pretty face, like some of the women that I will not mention, but they have absolutely nothing upstairs, but they're lovely and they're on our side. They're conservatives, um, or someone who is incapable of articulating a a clear thought. I would rather have a liberal, a progressive who's smart and from the old kind of vintage of a Gore Vidal, who was pretty left wing but still really smart man and a good writer, than, as I said, someone from the so-called philosophical tribe who is just, what gets me, and I know we're out of time, but there are so many people who, like, on Fox TV, for example, or on some of these other places where they have, and I'll say it, women who are really not that smart, but because they're saying the right things that
Right.
conservatives want to hear, and
Yeah.
because they're beautiful and they've got that look about them, people are in their tribe and they've got all these followers, and I'm like, and I criticize them, and then people say, oh, you're a rhino, or you're just jealous, or what. No, they're just not smart women. I want a smart woman. I don't care what she's
They're,
saying.
in the business, they say that their Q numbers are high, and these are the numbers that they get for you when they do these focus groups. They do these focus groups, and they have people watch you and opine. And if you get a high Q number, uh, you're higher. You're in there because somebody said, "Oh, I really like watching her. She seems so friendly and so real, and she's a lot of fun." But whether they're, and I mean, this goes for guys too. I mean,
Mhm.
the guys are on there, for their blow dried hair or whatever. It's the same thing. I mean, um, except that the guys are able to get older on TV and stay there forever, whereas a woman anchor, she's not allowed to grow old in front of the camera. Okay,
No,
like Larry Kane could be there, not Larry Kane, excuse me, but he was
Jim
there. Like
Gardner.
Jim Gardner could be there forever.
Yeah.
I mean, we literally watched him age
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah. And
on
he did a
television.
great job. He
If
looked
that was a
really
woman,
good.
no,
Huh?
no. If that was a woman, no.
Oh, no, not at
He's
all.
not allowed to age on television.
The only
No.
woman who was allowed to age on television was Barbara Walters. That was
Barbara
it.
Walters. And
And
but
Diane,
Sawyer,
thank you.
Diane Sawyer.
But
Yeah.
she's not there anymore either. I haven't seen her in a long time.
Well, she retired.
Yeah,
She
she had,
retired. That's
she had a
it.
good bit of longevity, though. I mean, I think
She had a nice run. By the way, there's a new book out about Barbara Walters, a new biography. I
I did.
forget.
I saw it. I've seen it. I want to get it.
Yeah.
It's like a
Uh,
one-word title, begins with the letter A, I think. I forget, but yeah, there are very few that have that longevity. You know, Katie Couric. Oh, she's so cute, Katie Couric. Katie Couric is
well,
is
Jane Pauley does the Sunday morning now.
actually, I love Jane Pauley. I'm sure she's liberal, but I don't get that from her. I get that she is just because that morning show is not a political show, and I've loved her from the Today Show days. I loved her
Yes.
with Brian Bumble. I just thought she was so beautiful and so classy, and she brought that Midwestern kind. She was from Indiana, I think. She brought that Midwestern just freshness, and she's still beautiful. She still looks the same.
Yeah.
You know, she aged so
Still
beautifully.
comes across as a total pro. Absolutely. Very few
Yep.
like her. So let's end on that note. We're just about an hour. It's been wonderful, Christine. We're
Love
1
it.
hour, 61 minutes. There you go. And we will
There we
be
go.
back again. Yes?
Very, very, very soon. We have to do this. This is definitely, it's allowing me to channel all of my anger out, you know, in my bathroom. But yeah,
Oh,
definitely. And then
You're
after
welcome.
this, I'll text you and we'll figure out when we're gonna do dinner, like soon. Okay.
I'm ready. And so is the lovely Carol Cirucci.
The lovely Carol Cirucci, I'm going to send you dates because in the next month, actually, I'm pretty free. So, you know, we'll
Okay.
figure it out. I'll come out.
All
To
right.
where you are. All right.
Great.
Love
Thank
you. Thank you for this.
Love you. Good night.
We got to circle back and talk about the Pope after this interview.
We will. We will.